Turn with me to Daniel chapter 4, please. Daniel chapter 4. We have a new dream and a new vision. Now, if you read the text, if you get text from Maria, you'll notice the title of the message tonight is Nobody's Hopeless. That's not my message. That comes from Billy Graham. He preached a message on this particular chapter, and he talked about absolutely nobody being hopeless. And we're kind of going to look at that tonight. I want you to remember now, from chapter 1 to chapter 4 is over 20 years. We know it's at least a 20-year span, and it's probably more than 20 years. We see King Nebuchadnezzar and his reign is going to come to an end. But his life does not come to an end before he meets the Lord. And that's what we're going to kind of focus in tonight, how God brought him to that particular place. His kingdom is going to end. Belshazzar, his son, is going to come in, and his son doesn't serve him one day, 24 hours, and he's gone because he just didn't honor God. That should wake all of us up in our lives when we think about what we are and who we are. And between, I don't know if it's before, well, yeah, it would have to be after Belshazzar. There are a lot of kings that come and go. Even Nebuchadnezzar tried to get back to the throne, but he doesn't succeed. And just a lot of kings come and go, but none of them are of the royal bloodline of Nebuchadnezzar. Until finally King Darius comes in around the 5th century, and he puts an end to the Babylonian kingdom, and he brings in the reign of the Persians, the Medes and the Persians. And Darius, if you remember him, is very prominent because he is the one that carries out the edict of King Cyrus to send the Jews back to Israel. And you find that in the book of Ezra and Nehemiah. But anyway, I want to break this particular chapter down. I want us to talk about the vision that he had, the interpretation, and then the results, and how God brought him to a humbling experience. And then I want to relate that not only to you and I, but I also want to relate it to the nation that we live in. The key verse of chapter 4, verse 30. I'll read that for you right quick. The king spoke and said, "Is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the king by the might of my power and for the honor of my majesty?" So he makes a statement there, but that's pretty much going to be the end of that statement. Let's take up in verse 4 of chapter 4, and let's talk about the dream. Let's read through verses 4 through 18. Nebuchadnezzar was at rest in his house, flourishing in his palace. He said, "I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. Therefore made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Then came in the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. And I told the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me the interpretation. But at last Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belshazzar. According to the name of my God, and to whom in the spirit of the holy gods, and before him I told the dream, saying, O Belshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in thee, and no secret troubles thee. Tell me the vision of my dream that I have seen, and the interpretation thereof. Thus were the visions of my head and my bed. I saw and behold a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. The tree grew, it was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven. The sight thereof to the end of all the earth, the leaves thereof were fair. The fruit thereof was much, as in it was the meat for all. The beasts of the field had shadowed under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwelt in the boughs thereof, and all flesh was fed of it. And I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, behold, a watcher, a holy one, came down from heaven. Who's this watcher? Got an idea? He cried aloud and said unto thee, Hold down the tree, and cut off the branches, shake off the leaves, scatter his fruit, and let the beast get away from under it, and the fowls from under its branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump of the roots of the earth, even with the band of iron and brass, and the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven. Let his portion be with the beasts of the grass of the earth. And let his heart be changed from man, and let a beast heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over him. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and to demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men, gives it to whomsoever he will, and sets it over its in the basis of men. Now, did you understand that sentence? To the intent that the living may know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men. He gives to whomsoever he will, and he sets up over it the beast of man. Then this dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, has seen. Now thou, O Belshazzar, declare the interpretation thereof, for as much as all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known unto me the interpretation, but thou art able, for the spirit of the holy gods is in thee. Daniel has not lost his favor with Nebuchadnezzar. He's been used by God on several occasions, and so he knows that Daniel has this relationship. Now, he doesn't know God. He kind of refers to him as one of many gods, because that's the kind of way people are today, you know. Well, he's just a man upstairs, and when they use that phrase, they mean they don't have an intimate relationship with God of all heaven. So he's kind of using a general phrase, and you know one of these gods, so you can talk to them and give him the interpretation. Now, we know the prosperity of the Babylonian kingdom. We know how it grew great and how it become, and how it was great in its time, and it accomplished its purpose of humbling the nation of Israel. It humbled the nation of Israel for the purpose of bringing Israel back to God. So God used it. But he's also going to show him that Nebuchadnezzar's time has come and gone. Now, whether we like it or not, everything in our lives comes to an end. Everything. Now, if we keep the end in perspective, we can have a very prosperous and happy life. You preach this to young people all the time. My son called me up last night and said that he wasn't going to be at St. John's anymore. They just gave him the news they moved him back to another store. I said, well, son, you know, everything comes to an end. He wants his own store so much, but right now he's just over the grocery department. But he's the fixer. Now, I don't understand all that, but in the Bible, not Bible, but in the public world, when the store gets in a mess, they call my son and ask him to go fix it. That's what he is. He's the fixer. He keeps going around to all these stores and he fixes the mess, and when the mess gets fixed, they move him on someplace else. They're building 3 new stores in the area. They hope that one day he'll have one of them. But long story short is everything comes to an end. Nothing continues to go on as it is. Now, when you think about life and you think about the goodness and the blessings that God has given us, people don't understand the concept. You know, look at all that I've got, and they just think in the mindset of things. Nebuchadnezzar was like that, but Nebuchadnezzar was not unlike people today. Okay, the concept of what he had, he thought that my kingdom was going to reign forever. Didn't he say that in verse 30? Hey, I built this city; it's going to be here forever. It's going to have my name. You do remember that Saddam Hussein tried to build his kingdom the same way Nebuchadnezzar did. He had the same number of palaces. He wasted no money. He built them and made them immaculate because he wanted his kingdom to be recognized. But see, those palaces are gone, and Saddam's name was hung by the neck until he was dead. So everything comes to an end. Okay? Always remember that. So Nebuchadnezzar, in his life of flourishing, has come down to the winter time of his life, and he can't deal with this. Matter of fact, nobody can. You do understand that, right? People have a real bad problem dealing with their own mortality. But the problem is deeper than that for Nebuchadnezzar, because he's coming down to the end of his life, and he has been given all kinds of opportunities to be saved. We read about it. But he's yet to make a profession of God in his life. Okay? He tinkers with it. He's kind of like one of these fellows that just walk down the aisle during the revival this time and go back and live his life. There was a church one time where the drunk would always come to the revival service. He would come to church all the time. And during the revival service, he'd always come down to the altar and give his life to Christ. Well, one time he come down and took the preacher's hand and said, while he was down there, one fella hollered out, "Shoot him now, preacher, that's the closest to heaven he's going to get." But you know, there are people like that. There are like people like that. And so Nebuchadnezzar just is kind of a play out of human nature. Okay? Now, let's read a little further. Let's read about the interpretation of the dream, verses 19 through 27. Then Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar, he fills in all the blanks of all this, was astonished for 1 hour. His thoughts troubled him. The king spoke and said, "Belshazzar, let not the dream or the interpretation thereof trouble thee." Belshazzar answered and said, "My lord, the dream be this, that hate thee, and the interpretation thereof be thy enemies. The tree that you saw which grew was strong, whose height reached to heaven, and the sight thereof all the earth, whose leaves were fair, and the fruit thereof was much, and it was meant for all under which the beasts of the field dwell, whose branches the fowls of the heaven, and their habitation is thou, O king. You are the one that are grown, become strong, for greatness is grown, and reaches unto heaven, and thy dominion to the end of the earth." He said, "That's you. You're that. But you see, you're not going to stay like that. You're going to become frail and feeble, and you're going to come to the end of your life, just like every human being. But when you come to the end of your life, you're going to have to make a determination of, what am I going to do with God in my life? Where is God going to fit in the equation? And where is the king Saul watcher and the Holy One coming down from heaven, saying, "Hoe down the tree, destroy it, yet leave the stump of the roots thereof to the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, and the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven. And let this portion be with the beasts of the field, 7 times passing over him." This is the interpretation, O king. This is the decree of the Most High, which has come upon my Lord King, that they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen. They shall wet thee with the dew of heaven. 7 times shalt thou pass over thee, till thou hast known that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men, and gives it to whomsoever he will. Now, that's a true statement. "And whereas thou commanded to leave the stump of the tree roots, thy kingdom shall be sure of thee. After thou shalt know that the heavens do rule. Wherefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee. Break off thy sins by righteousness, and thine iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if it may be a lengthening of thy tranquility." Basically, he's telling him, there's still time for you, Nebuchadnezzar, to make a right with God. You have to look at the frailty of your ways, and you have to make recompense for the life that you have lived. When we come to the Lord, and we come to know Jesus Christ as our personal Savior, from that moment on, we spend the rest of our lives making up for failed opportunities. Now, you can argue against that if you want, but that's basically what we do. That's why there's some people that are so committed. We live so much out here, so now I want to spend the rest of my days, whether they be few, whether they be many, doing all that I can for the glory of God and bringing glory to His name in any possible way that I can. And that's a good perspective of life. Once you come to the Lord, I want to go to church as much as I can. I want to hear as much gospel as I can. I want to just inundate myself with gospel music. I want to do as much good as I can for people. And I want to do all that I can to bring glory unto God. And he's telling Nebuchadnezzar, it's not too late for you to make things right. Now, your kingdom's coming to an end, Nebuchadnezzar. But your life doesn't have to come to a tragic end. Okay? You can still make your peace with the Lord. And that brings us to the results. And some of you that have study Bibles, I don't have one. You can tell me the name of this sickness. It is a real sickness. It's in medical books. But this is what happened to Nebuchadnezzar. And Nebuchadnezzar, or King, God done this to King Nebuchadnezzar for one particular purpose. And that was to humble him. Let's read verses 28 through 37. All this came upon the king. At the end of 12 months, he walked in the palace of the kingdom of Babylon. The king spoke and said, "Is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom by the might of my power? for the honor of my majesty. While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven, saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee. They shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, and they shall make thee eat grass. 7 times pass over, and thou shalt until thou know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men, and gives it to whomsoever he will. The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar. And he was driven from men, he ate grass as an oxen. His body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like bird's claws. Now, what does your study Bible tell us that disease is? It's neck or something. What is it? Got it? Doesn't say anything about, well, it is a disease. Okay? Your study Bible should point it out. It is known where a man becomes animalistic in his nature, and he actually starts acting animalistic-like. Okay? That's the curse that God put upon him, and the only reason that he put that curse upon him was to bring him down to a place of humbleness. He goes on, at the end of the days, Nebuchadnezzar lifted up his eyes into heaven. My understanding returned to me. I blessed the Most High. I praised and honored that God that lives forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion. His kingdom is from generation to generation. And all the inhabitations of the earth are reputed as nothing. And he does according to his will in the army of heaven among the inhabitants of the earth. And none can stay his hand or say to him, What doest thou? At the same time, my reason returned unto me for the glory of my kingdom. My honor and my brightness returned unto me. My counselors, my Lord, sought me, and I was established in my kingdom, and excellent majesty was added unto me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, and all whose works are true, and the way is judged, and those that walk in pride he is able to obey. All right, from that particular time on, Nebuchadnezzar is going to leave the scene. Okay? From all that I can read, he died a peaceful life. Okay? But he did not die as king. Okay? He turned the king to reign over to his son, but at that particular time, his son disgraced God and ended up dying. Now, Nebuchadnezzar tried to come back to the throne, but he was unsuccessful to do so. He might have stayed a year or so, but then other people started coming into the kingdom until finally the Medes and the Persians, led by King Darius, came in and destroyed the Babylonian Empire. Okay? And they became part of the Mede and the Persian Empire. Okay? But what is important here is that God brought him to a point of salvation. Now, God put him in this place. For a 20-year span, God had dealt with Nebuchadnezzar, trying to get him to honor him with his life. He told him all kinds of dreams about the kingdom being established and what he would be. And he put Daniel in his life as a witness. I do believe that God always puts somebody in every person's life as a witness. Okay? Daniel became the witness to Nebuchadnezzar. Okay? When you think about your loved ones, you pray and say, God, I'm too close to them. I cannot reach them, but I pray that you will put a Christian witness in their life. Now, that particular man was Daniel. He was put in Nebuchadnezzar's life, and when he got into trouble, it was Daniel that he leaned to. Okay? Now, he brought him to the place in his life to humble him and to bring him to the place where he would acknowledge God in his life. If you and I have anybody in our lives, we are told two things that are very important here. First of all, that we should never give up on them. Okay? Because nobody is hopeless as long as they have breath in their body. Okay? The second thing is that God is going to have to humble them just as he humbled Nebuchadnezzar, or they will never acknowledge God in their lives. Okay? Nobody's hopeless. I personally have seen murderers, drug addicts, drug users, alcoholics, thieves come to know the Lord Jesus Christ. When we think about the bestiality of man and what he does and the horrible things that he does and the way he runs his life. And some of them happen to be our relatives. And we say, you know, they're never going to change. But we do not believe that. We do believe that God can do something in their lives to lead them to the point of change. That's what God done in the life of Nebuchadnezzar. As long as he was in the position of authority in the lofty heights looking down upon man and his kingdom, he would never acknowledge God. So God brought him down as low could possibly be. Now you think about this. From a king down to an animal. From a king down to animalistic instincts of eating grass and living with the beasts of the field. Okay? With his hair growing and his nails growing. Probably no clothes and living off the land, crawling like an animal. Now, when he got to the place and he saw what he was and how he had been brought to that point, he acknowledged God in his life. Now, it seems to indicate at this point, Nebuchadnezzar got saved. That's all we can get from that. He did acknowledge God, and we will leave it up to God to be his judge. But somewhere in his life, he did acknowledge God. And it was here, but it was after a span of dealing with him for 20 years. Now, so we pray. Pray earnestly. God, I want you to humble my loved one. I want you to bring my friend down any possible way that you can to the point that they will acknowledge you in their lives. That is the only way that they will ever be saved. Do you have any comments? Any questions? Jeff?
You name your disease is lycanthropes?
Lycophomia, or something like that.
It's L-I-C-A-N-T-H.
It is a disease. It is a disease, and it is a medical disease.
L-Y-C-A-N-T-H-R-O.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. It exists today. I don't know how rare it is, but it is still a disease that, and basically he had a mental illness. This is all done in the mind.
Struck him immediately after he got the correction.
Yeah.
I mean, this was the same day.
Right. He was brought down.
Claims it's like werewolf disease.
Huh?
Claims it's like werewolf disease.
Ain't no such thing in the world.
I know, but that's what it said.
You probably couldn't have been one of that. They see what he turned into.
Yes.
As Daniel has written this account, he never transcribed what Nebuchadnezzar says and calls him God. He talks to him about being the Most High and other names, but what explanation do you have of that? Any?
No, none at all. He probably just didn't know it.
Now, he starts out, he's believing in many gods.
Yeah, he started out with the many gods, but then he acknowledged
At
it.
his version, he
Yeah,
is
yeah.
believing in the Most High God.
If you take the instances as God had dealt with say Nineveh, for instance, when Jonah came in, they acknowledged Israel's God. Now they still, Pharaoh done the very same thing. You know, he finally acknowledged that Israel's God was the supreme God, but they never get to that place where they don't get to, where they don't think those idols exist. So, you know, I don't know. I have no idea. Anybody else? All right. Now, that's the thing I want to talk about him. I want you to look at Acts 17:26. I want somebody to read that real quick. He says 3 times in this particular chapter that kingdoms are set up by the hand of God, for the purpose of God, for the sake of God. Okay?
You ready? And thou made of one blood all nations of men, for to dwell on all the face of the earth,
Okay.
and hath determined the time before appointed, and the bonds of their habitation.
Did y'all hear that? Basically, it says in Acts 17 that God has appointed all nations to the place that they are there, and it's done in His hand at a particular time that God wants them in their place for the sole purpose of his pleasure. Okay? Now, I want you to think about that. And I want you to, well, we won't read it because we don't have a lot of time left, but everyone here knows what 2 Chronicles 7:14 says. If my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves. I want you to think in the concept of this particular chapter, not only Nebuchadnezzar is coming to acknowledge God in his life, and hopefully it was a right acknowledgement, he made things in peace with God, he's in heaven now. But I want you to think about the nations that live and exist. Use this analogy for just a minute, okay? We love America, okay? At that particular time, Babylon and its Babylonian kingdom was the greatest and strongest nation in the world. And it didn't seem like anybody could face it, okay? Until the Assyrians, started kind of tinkering with them. And then finally, the Medes and the Persians just pretty much put them out of their misery. But think about this for a minute. If America continues to do the blatant things that they do, what in the world is going to happen to the nation that we are so proud of? It is mind-boggling, some of the things that are going on right now. I never thought I would ever live to hear a state senator, well actually two now, who would stand up and say that I want a bill passed that would allow a child to be killed up to the moment of birth. Now, I heard it on TV. I know she did this. And I'm not talking about New York. I'm talking about Virginia. They wanted the same law passed. Now, that's been done in the past. There was a country called Sparta.
The one Virginia was killed after birth, not to birth.
Killed after birth. Okay, all right. But anyway, up to 9 months.
That's a lot of difference. I mean, you got a living, breathing child.
No, that's not what she said. It's to the point that she can go to the hospital and go into labor, not give birth, but to the point that she goes into labor and they can still abort that child.
Okay, anyway, all right. Okay, so up to birth, child again. That's mind-boggling. This is the United States of America. And to have two states that would allow something like that, what in the world is wrong? We're just exploded and imploded from the inside. And is God going to allow America to reign like that forever?
When we get Muslim congressmen and congresswomen, something's wrong.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if you remember, back after World War II, other nations said that America would be taken from the inside. And I think that's what you're seeing now. The actual Americans are destroying our own country.
You read these scriptures when you get home. You don't have to read them tonight, but all of these refers to, well, I do want to read two of them. I do want to read the one in Psalm, okay? Somebody read Psalm 145:8 right quick. And then when you get home, you can read Psalm 9:17 and Isaiah 40:17, and it talks about nations, okay? But nations come and go. And we are so arrogant that we do not believe that we could ever be destroyed as a nation. But I'm telling you that in my lifetime, in the last 5 or 10 years, we are seeing things that we have never, ever seen before. Babylon was prosperous. They had everything that you want. They had all the nice buildings, all the nice gardens, all the workers that you could possibly have. But they went under. And I'm believing with all of my heart, friends, that America is in trouble. Now, are we hopeless? No. Nebuchadnezzar was not hopeless. We can still have revival. But I'm telling you, there are things going on today that is startling to hear. Okay? Read, what did I tell you? Psalm 145, who has that? Somebody have that?
Verse 8.
Verse 7, I think. Verse 8, I'm sorry.
The Lord is gracious and full of compassion, slow to anger and of great mercy.
Okay.
All the other chapters you said.
So that's the scripture that talks about the fact that nobody's hopeless. Nebuchadnezzar was not hoping, and God continues to show great mercy for patience. And He's shown patience for America, but I don't know what is gonna happen? Yes, ma'am.
Give me those other two scriptures you.
Psalm 9:2. Oh, wait a minute, 9:17, I'm sorry. Psalm 9:17 and Isaiah 40:17, okay?
If you go back and you look at the Bible, you'll find that any time when they started exalting homosexuality, they pushing that. That's the sign in our nation today that we're on that brink, that point.
We've lost our moral compass. We don't have a guide anymore. And you have seen the display of disarray in the Congress where they cannot get anything done. Absolutely cannot get anything done. Just curiosity, I went and looked to see what kind of immigration problem that America has. There's 1% of illegal immigrants in America. That's about 11 million, okay? But this number continues to increase. Well, what happens one day if there is no water or no walls or borders? What happens if that number just continues to get to the point where they become in control of certain areas of our life or certain areas of America?
I don't know if you noticed, I've had some Mexicans that they live in a house right across the street from the service station that we were at. But this is something that they're talking about being waived off.
Well, they're mostly are migrant workers. Now, I don't know if they're illegal or not. They may not, but yes, we've actually ministered to those migrant workers before. We've actually been there witness to them, talked to them, but we're just insane. We can't get anything done. We can't. And then on top of all that, there's so much that we could do as far as goodness and righteousness' sake. They think it's all right for a baby to get to the point of birth, and then they cut the spinal cord and kill it.
Well, you know, when you have politicians who put their hatred for one person above the needs of their citizens, that's a crime shame.
But it just shows our nation is so divided, and the insanity of it. God just they want to remove the thing under God as far as taking over. Just take God out of the equation. We talked about that, but it is fearful. It's fearful for the people that you and I have that's coming up behind us, our children, our grandchildren. What kind of nation? Are they going to live in a nation? We don't know. We have no idea. We do know that nations come and go. And America is not God's favorite child anymore. I just don't believe that. And so we may be at the point that, I think we're hopeless, but we may be at the point where God decides, well, America, you're not going to honor me. I'm going to take my mantle from you and give it to somebody else. We may be at that point.
I think something else is going to happen too.
What's that?
Whenever we become a single-payer healthcare system,
Yeah.
the elderly is going to come under attack also. You get to the
Absolutely.
point that you're not productive in society,
Right.
you're a strain on the healthcare system.
That's already going on.
That's already going on.
They passed all kind of bills.
Read the book. Read the book.
They already say Social Security is a benefit. We know you work for it, you pay for it, but it's just a benefit.
So you see the similarities. You see the similarities with Babylon being great and it failed. America being great and it failed. Simply because the leaders won't acknowledge God. That's the point I'm making tonight. Nebuchadnezzar, all that he went through, he had to be humbled to the place and he lost his sanity and he lost his kingdom before he would ever get saved. So is that going to happen to us? People are just so arrogant and the churches are only less than 0.5% of people go to church anymore. 0.5% of the population of America go to church anymore. So when we get to that point, we're to that place where God can take the kingdom away in order to get us right with Him. He can take our ability to live. He can take everything that we have. If it happens, it just happens. I don't know what else to tell you. I just don't know.
In Psalms 9:17, it says, "The wicked shall be turned to hell, and all the nations that forgot God."
Right. All nations that forget God. All nations that forget
What
God.
do you think would happen in America if
the believers stood together and said, it's enough.
That's my point. I don't think there's that many believers anymore. I don't think there's that many Christians.
That's the problem, is getting enough.
I think that America, now they say that Christians go live in a Christian nation, but I think as far as believers go, you probably got less amount of believers as you got immigrants. Maybe 6 million believers in America. I don't know.
You said it's spiritual, not saved.
Correct, correct. Not saved. But they say they're, spiritual.
Well, but they think they are. When you got people who are members of churches and probably our church,
Yeah.
who have made a profession
Yeah.
and been baptized, and they say, I'm a Christian.
Or even worse than that,
They're not.
it's even worse than that. Christ said there'll be many companies that did not do many mighty works. It wasn't just that I got saved, didn't I do a whole bunch of stuff too? And he said, I never did. You get a lot of people looking at spirituality and not God.
Well, it's 8 o'clock. Pray for our nation. I'm really upset over America. I'm really upset. That's scary stuff now. I mean, up to the point of birth, a child can be killed in the United States of America.
I will say this, when I was 9 months pregnant with Christian, 9/11 happened 5 days before Christian was born. And I remember we were at home and I dropped to my knees. And I looked at Michael and I said, why are we bringing a child into this? I could not fathom. And as Christian, he's 17 and he's grown up, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm thinking, what is he going to do when he's our age?
Absolutely. We're not around.
To be my age.
We're not
And now,
around to be that strong. All they,
You look in most churches today and you'll find more old people than you see on there. Most churches, I've been in a lot of churches, I've noticed that. What's going to happen when all of these old people are gone? What is the next generation? Is there going to be church anymore?
I agree. What branch of the Methodist Church now is approving that?
What branch? I don't know.
Well, it's the Methodist Church, but on you, and I guess it's Methodist.
I haven't heard that.
Well, check into it anyway.
You checked into it, let me know.
Check into it, they said they are
Did you
approved.
tell us?
Methodist Church, I don't know which Methodist Church, I guess Methodist Association Church said they don't approve it. And not
We got Southern Methodist, you got United Methodist, you got African Methodist, African American Methodist, and Episcopal Methodist, but that's Methodist also. So anyway, all right, y'all dismiss choir practice.